Today I want to talk to you about a recent book that I start reading. It's from Ahmet Altan, I Will Never See the World Again. It's available on Amazon and you will find a link below. First of all, I really like the book and the way it is written. It's a very good read. It is captivating. So Ahmet Altan, a journalist, a novelist from Turkey who's been imprisoned by current Erdogan regime on the basis of giving subliminal messages. A.L. Kennedy has wrote, read this, it will explain why you ever read anything, why anyone ever writes. It's very true. When you read the book, you really understand why anyone writes anything. To be honest, knowing that the writer has been imprisoned recently by Erdogan, let off in the first court appearance for like a couple of hours, made even a stronger speech as soon as he is released, and then arrested on the same night and put back to jail. This writer, novelist, now tells us that he will never see the world again. So I was expecting really a dry, dramatic story of Ahmet Altan talking about how he's been unjustly imprisoned, how the charges against him are stupid, how people are actually trying to frame him in the sense that they couldn't find anything, so they have to say, you didn't say anything wrong, but you have given subliminal messages. So I was expecting to see the stories in the court rooms, the stories in the prison, the stories of unjust, and maybe a call for the reader to help him get out of that prison. To my surprise, that's not what I found in the book. First of all, the way it is written is so good, and I'm familiar with his writing, and the way it is translated is very good as well. I think the translator Yasemin Çongar did justice to the book. She's also a friend of Ahmet Altan. I think it is so alive, so captivating. You get to see the real perspective of Ahmet Altan in his prison cell, his friends, you get to meet with them, some of them. But it's not in the sense that he's complaining. There is a strange sense of acceptance in Ahmet Altan's part that was supposed to happen for any honorable man in under certain circumstances and certain regime. He thinks he's almost like playing his part. He comes across as a writer first and foremost, and as a novelist, even when he's talking about these stupid charges and his stories in the prison. And the way he introduced people and the way he finishes those stories as well, it makes everything a lot more meaningful when you read Ahmet Altan's book. I found some other stuff in the book, especially some description. I want to share his first night in the cage. I sat up and leaned my back against the wall. The heat was brushing my face like a furry animal. My forehead was sweating. I was having difficulty breathing. This place was so narrow, airless, I wouldn't be able to stay here. For a moment, I had an irresistible urge to get up, hold the iron bars and shout, "Let me out of here! Let me out of here! I'm suffocating!" With horror, I realized I was lurching forward. I clenched my fist as if to stop myself. I knew that with a single scream, I would lose my past and my future, everything I had. But the urge to get myself out of that cage with its walls closing in on me was irresistible. My life will pass fighting invisible battles between two walls. I will survive by hanging onto the branches of my own mind, at the very edge of the abyss, and not giving into disorienting inebriety of weakness even for a moment. I had seen the monstrous face of reality. From now on, I would live to like a man clinging on a single branch. I didn't have the right to be scared or depressed or terrified for a single moment, nor to give in to desire to be saved, to have a moment of madness, nor to surrender to any of these all too human weaknesses. A momentary weakness would destroy my entire past and future, my very being. If I were to tire and let go of the branch I was holding, it would be fatal. I would fall to the bottom of the abyss and become the mess of blood and bones. So before I read this article, I always imagined the moral high ground as like a little hill where you are, let's say, a couple of feet higher than your opponent. But when I read about his description on clinging on a single branch on a cliff, and if you let go, if you feel weak and let go, then you will lose everything. It showed me how difficult really it is to have the moral high ground, how high it's priced to pay, and it shows how high Ahmet Altan compared to his opponent who puts him in that jail. Further reading the book, you can see that Ahmet also talks about his cellmates, so you get an idea of what's happening and what's happening inside those cells. I always assume that when you suffer from injustice, you can only talk about it in one way, but I learned from Ahmet Altan that there are many other ways to talk about the way you describe that injustice, the way you describe the world, first of all the way you describe yourself, how a man can survive outside of a prison while he's kept inside a prison. I would definitely advise you to read Ahmet Altan's I Will Never See the World Again. You'll find a link for the book in the info section. Do not hesitate to go and get your own copy.